Franklin, is this? I take it this is after the Morgan stuff.
Yeah, this is
Is
after the
this?
Morgan. I don't, because I didn't have an
This
RP after the Morgan, right? I think it was during the Morgan's occupancy was my last one.
okay? Um, is this like before shock space or after shock space?
This will be after. After just makes it
Okay,
easier.
so like you're 2, 3 days away from mouse station.
Yeah, we can set this to a little closer to mouse. Yeah,
Okay.
either that or could even set it to, because we had what, 2 days before the party on mouse.
You had one day before
We had
party.
1 day. Okay, and I was busy on that. Never mind. Because we were setting up Joy for that.
E.
So yeah, it would be a couple days prior to dock then.
Okay. So Franklin is handing out. Um, Already upon entering, you can tell he's not as much slunched over. He's a lot more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said in the last conversation that he'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
He's just handling things how Franklin handles things.
You do, and we're just gonna throw this at him on my entering just to make sure. That's 4 success empathy. Was
Okay.
the door wide open then for this go around too
Uh,
then, or
yeah.
was it
As
closed?
soon as, as soon as the everything calmed down, there's like another 2 days where door stays closed. But after that, but after the shock space jump, doors open again.
Okay, so yeah, when she approaches and does the subtle knock knock with her knuckles, like rap on the wall and ducks in, that's where the empathy hits as well.
Okay, so he kind of looks over, waves at you, Lorne. Looking at him, he has a normal level of Franklin stress.
Mm-hmm.
He's a worryholic,
Oh no.
but other than that, he looks to be in a good mood. He is pleasantly pleased to see you.
Hey.
Hey.
She will slip in and that Melf chair, is that open?
At the moment it is, because Melv is not in here.
She slips into Melf's chair.
How you doing, Lorne?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm a lot better since our last talk, except for a smile.
That is good.
I think so too.
Yes. I know stress was very high during that.
Yep.
It is a relief, both in that we are no longer threatened by them, but also because everyone else is feeling that de-stressing. De-stressing, like words. She scrunches up her face. You know what I mean.
Yeah. So, is there anything that, came here for? Was it just a, checkup, seeing how our last talk went?
A little bit of a checkup, but
Okay.
I am also between things, and I thought I'd just hang around if that's all right.
No, it's all right. I don't think Mel's gonna be back for a while, so you're not gonna get kicked out in a bit.
Excellent. She looks like she gets a little more cozy and comfy in the chair. Does like the little wiggle. When he gets here, I will tell him that I am keeping it warm for him.
I'm sure he will not appreciate that. But you can try.
He will have to set up a lorne trap if he does not want me sitting in his chair. She does like the cat blink at Franklin. that slow blink. That is a customary for Lorne.
All right.
Oh, I was wondering. Since we haven't really spoken about it, and I have been drawn, have been more curious, especially after last vacation. Considering your background, I am curious more about where you are from.
Well, from Knox.
Yes.
I grew up around one of the cargo docks and whatnot, so it's where I got my interest in being a pilot.
Were you young when you were interested?
Yeah, well, most people don't want to live on Knox the rest of their lives, but it's still home.
Yes. Did you have siblings?
Um, one older and one younger. Yeah.
Pilots as well.
You?
She tried to sneak her question in before he got it.
Looks over. Well, it's only fair you answer my question first, right?
Very well. Yes, I have siblings.
All right. And yeah, I did get along with mine.
That's good. I got along with mine as well, but there is a significant age gap between myself and them.
Younger or older?
They are older.
Ah,
Well, they. And she seems kind of conflicted. I had 2 brothers, but I have 1 now.
oh,
You do not have to feel sorry. It has been a while.
well, still losing family's rough.
It is. But what happened was, well, I cannot say it was natural, but there are worse ways to go.
He nods his head. Um, I know on Knox it's pretty dangerous for fishers and well, we call them gas miners, even though it's more of using a vacuum cleaner, just a very high-tech vacuum cleaner.
Yes?
Those jobs are pretty dangerous on Knox.
Why is it dangerous as a fisherman?
Well, I was telling you about how we have those giant monsters, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, they eat a lot of things, and well, the fishermen's nets are a pretty good source of food because well, there's a lot of food in it. And if a fisherman then gets dragged in while trying to pull up the net, or something happens, or if, well, you fall into the water, the water's lighter than you are, so you need to basically be hoping that you're wearing your proper gear.
Oh.
Otherwise, it's not very good. And yeah, because it's not like normal water where you try to actively float. The water's lighter than you because it's not actually water. It's just gas that have kind of liquefied a bit.
I see. I am understanding why fishing is quite dangerous.
Yeah. And part of the same reason why the gas miners is also dangerous, because they have to skim across it with the high-tech vacuums. And if something bad happens and they slip in. Well, they're of course already wearing protective gear, but they have to just basically wait, not being able to see anything until someone comes pick them up.
Then,
And some of the life that lives in there is pretty hostile.
is it big?
Mostly because it's mostly the big ones that need to be worried about, but yeah, it's just not a good time.
It sounds, well, hostile, of course.
Yeah.
It is interesting that the creatures of your oceans are akin to what some places would find as their own fiction.
Well, Working Fury is someone wanted to make some of those fictional creatures reality because it's part of why the fishing's so big is because it's not actually water. It's a slurry of other chemical compounds, including lots of liquefied oxygen and other such things that the animals are able to get pretty big.
I would presume that having such creatures, entities in your oceans would then also serve as a draw for a certain kind of tourism as well.
It would, but when there's a several story thick cloud of just gas above it as a permanent mist, and the atmosphere itself is kind of toxic, a lot of people don't want to go to Nox. Well, a lot of people don't want to live on Nox for that same reason. But no, there's definitely a big game hunters and extreme tourists that show up to experience it.
Have you seen... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I know when people get the Noxian Krakens that they are certainly a delicacy. My town has never had one served up, but I know other towns have when someone catches one.
Have you seen them in person then?
I've only ever seen babies.
How big are the babies?
About as big as me when they first hatch.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's just their main body, that's not including their tendrils. Okay, a baby one could easily eat a person.
That's neat. She says being told that a baby can eat a person.
I guess.
No,
I guess.
Not the eating a person thing. It's just interesting how big they can be.
Yeah. Most of them don't last too long, so it's why, well, when they die, everything floats up pretty quick, and mostly, very scavenger animals get to them first. But if not, you can easily just skim the surface of the water and pick up them after they've spawned.
Mm-hmm.
Just because a lot of them don't make it past the first day or two. Between competition and just, well, cannibalism. He shrugs.
It is still neat to hear.
Yeah, I suppose from an outsider's perspective, it can be.
We do not have much wildlife per se. Very few, in fact. As we Proxians do not live on our planets.
Yeah.
So it is interesting hearing about all the various methods that humanity and other creatures have adapted to certain environments, or just how they exist in general. It is fun, as much as it may be dangerous. And while she's talking, I'll toss another empathy at him, because he's my boy. 3.
Franklin's doing all right. His demeanor since this conversation's been going on hasn't really changed or not. As for the topic at hand, it's kind of apparent he's just like, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from, but I'm pretty sure that opinion would change. It's just like well, at least Lorne isn't scarred by these horrific creatures.
Right. That seems to be the general census of anyone she talks to.
Yeah.
At least baby is not scarred.
B.
And she wiggles in her chair a little.
Is there any sort of animals unique to where you're from? Or just mutations?
I think mutations are probably the closest to something unique. I mean, other than, well, us Proxians ourselves. It has been interesting that the further I have come out here, how few of my kind I have seen. Which I suppose would be natural. There really aren't that many of us in comparison to everyone else.
He kind of nods his head. Yeah, I can see that.
But yes, we have rodents. And I am coming to understand that when let me rephrase. That when people, at least in this section of the universe, think of rodents, they think of like my mouse or the rats we had. Maybe even what was the bioweapon thingy that we had encountered? The little rodent one?
A stalker.
Maybe even the stalker on certain parts. But, what we had, and in my mind, what I read is, and she holds her hands out, like she draws them out like she's drawing a string. It is something this long, and this tall, and, she gestures, and has webbing, and she'll kind of, with her hands and gestures, probably using herself as an example, like where the webbing would be.
Alright. Franklin kind of nods his head. Oh, okay. Well, I imagine for very low gravity environments that could be a bit helpful.
Yes. I am surprised I don't have webbing. She waggles her fingers.
Well, all that stuff worked in mysterious ways.
Yes. perhaps in many, many centuries to come, the descendants of our descendants and so on may develop such traits. Or not, I really don't know much about biology.
Well, probably on the not, more so than the, yeah, part.
We do supplement our movement anyways.
Yep. Well, I guess that's kind of interesting to know.
Yes. I know I haven't really had a chance to use them yet, and I'm kind of hoping to once we are docked. But, if you would like, I could show you my wings.
Sure. What do you mean by, like, wings? Well, like, actual wings? He sounds a little bit confused. It's apparent that he doesn't exactly follow along.
Uh-huh. Oh, we Proxians, for our cogs, since we spend much time drifting between the stations and the other rock and rubble between them as we traverse our own small sect of space, we have developed a kind of technology for our movement through zero gravity. And it lends to our name, I suppose, as drifters.
Oh, well, I guess that makes more sense.
The equipment unfurls like wings. How exactly do they work? Are they like... You said they appear kind of like wings. Do they just... Oh, go ahead.
They kind of like unfurl from the back a bit. And they are powered with basically... It's kind of a reflective sort of mesh, but they're more or less powered by a bunch of very, very tiny, just like... I'm trying to remember what the... kind of like graph plating, except works a little bit differently, where it's actively pushing in a direction, but they're very fine, very small, and
like
they use a bit of power. Yeah, they use a bit of power, but when they're active from both, and they're on both sides to kind of like allow for easy adjustments, and the wings kind of like also shift a bit to also help with which direction they're in. And it very much does look like the entire thing just shimmers when they're active, as it kind of just propels you forward, and it's much more controlled bursts to get, well, not bursts, just constant speed, which is why you're able to move much quicker for 0G, except it does require a lot of space.
Right.
Like it's basically, those are basically the equivalent of kind of a jetpack almost, except the jetpack is just speed.
Right, whereas like I'd imagine for the wings, as you said, like they go in spurts kind of, because in space in 0G, once you get the movement, you need the momentum, you keep going, there's nothing that stops you.
Yeah.
So it kind of starts it forward and then you drift.
Yep. And it's why it's constantly adjusting to keep yourself going at that constant pace, and also pretty agile. Like in more confined areas, that aspect of the 0G stuff isn't very helpful, but the rest of it still helps.
So she'll explain some of the little technicalities that she, as far as her own tech speak can go with it.
Well, I guess that makes sense where the name Drifters come from.
Yes. But yes, more of our own thing, and I don't know, when I first ordered it, obviously, I didn't really need it, but it felt comforting to have it, kind of like a small piece of home, while being so far away.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense.
I'm gonna throw an empathy with the talk of home. 3 successes.
His, again, it's not exactly changing. It doesn't seem like talking of home really causes any emotional change in Franklin here.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of nods his head. Like, yeah, that makes sense. It's nice to have a little mementos from home.
Hello, Con.
Is that the only reason he wanted it? Just something from home?
Well, I figured it would be useful in the event that something happens. And distance is required in movement through 0G.
I suppose, yeah.
Since as far as I'm aware, there are not many other cogs or equipment aboard the Rossi that does that.
Yeah. Well, imagine that with other salvage jobs, it could kind of come in handy.
Better safe than sorry.
Yep. Because we do spend a lot of time, just hovering around the work site.
Mm-hmm. I figured, especially since our last trip, when we were bringing stuff back and forth between the different ships, probably could have been useful there.
Probably, yeah.
But you never know. And she'll just kind of fiddle with.
Well, you can't change the past.
Can't change the past?
Yep.
No, you cannot. Oh, hey, guess what? Another empathy, because he's talking about changing the past, only not paying. 5. I'm gonna read on this boy.
1 second. Things are being weird. Okay. Are you looking for anything in particular?
Well, because he mentioned you can't change the past, so she's just checking, doing the empathy thing to see if that idea of not being able to change the past or changing the past is a regret or lingering thing, or just, the comment.
Just a comment here. That doesn't seem he holds any regret. It's just a statement of fact of regarding what Lawrence said. It could have been useful then, and he's just like, well, you can't change your past, so kind of affirming that we'll never know if it was useful or not.
Mm-hmm. Though we cannot change the past, we can affect our future.
Well, certainly true. Gives Lorne a bit of a smile.
Do you like it here?
Up front, mostly, yeah. Unless you mean on Barassi, then again, yeah, Barassi is nice.
Did she ask him how long he was with the Rossi before?
Lorne would know he's been here since the beginning of Barassi.
That's right, that's right. And he just said that he's fine with staying here, basically.
Yep.
I like it here too.
That's good. It is certainly one of the nicer ships I've been on.
Oh? Tell me of your ships.
It's just the not every crew is like Varasi.
I would expect not.
And so it's nicer than a lot of other crews.
Were you in the cockpit more often on those ships then?
No. Those ships were just different.
She kind of cants her head.
Think of it like so long haul freighters is what I used to do. Pilots were on 6-hour shift rotations because you're spending most of your time in shock space than you are anything else, and you, due to the nature of them, a portion of the ship is protected from well, just shock space in general. The rest of the ship is just left alone. But there always needs to be someone at the helm, so it's very just, you're awake 8 hours, then you sleep for a couple hours, and then you go and do other tasks, and then you sleep again, and then you wake up and you just keep on doing a rotation. There's normally 3 or 4 people on board.
For shock?
At least the ships I was on.
Was that the shock schedule or in general?
No, that was just in general. You would be in shock space for weeks at a time sometimes, and you quickly pop out, set a new course, and carry on again.
I see. So not awake for any of it?
No, you're awake the entire time.
So similar to and she kind of does like a hand gesture because technology is not her thing. What the Morgan had when we went in shock.
Yeah, except the Morgan makes more of a bubble. This is more of a brute forcing it. Rather than being on the normal shock space, we are just plowing right through shock space. It's not as efficient, but it's a little bit faster.
Can I roll that void lore for the shock stuff?
In particular to what here?
Just kind of trying to grasp this concept here. Is he saying that what they're doing is... Because he said plowing through, more brutish or whatever. Is it... Are they still protected?
You don't know. Like, he did mention that the thing made a part of a ship protected. but
Okay.
the rest of it was just kind of left be.
Was the cockpit protected?
Yeah, all of the living areas were in for, the point is how it is referred. Basically, we're pumping a bunch of energy into the front so that our section of so you know when you normally enter a shock space, you feel that wave wash over you. When our V ships did it, that doesn't happen. You just punch right in, and you just go. It's part of why you need to have someone always at the cockpit and always well rested, because it's not so much you just let the computer handle it. It's more so you're right there, you're handling it. You got to make constant course corrections, but it's slightly faster even if you burn more fuel.
I see.
And when, well, time is money in the freight companies, it's one of the cheaper alternatives.
How is that for mental well-being?
No.
Oh.
Just, it's all about doing it quick. Again, it's why there's only 4 people on board, because in total you're supposed to be out for no longer than 4 months, and then you rest on at whatever planet you delivered your supplies to, and a different crew there takes your ship and heads off. From there, you might be told to wait, or you might get told to get on the passenger liner and head off to your next job.
I see. And I would
So,
presume that the passenger liner was much more comfortable a ride.
well, you definitely gotta have a long nap.
How long were you doing that for?
About 4 years. Actual years in total, it might have been, including the sleeping, closer to 5.
Did you taste color?
No, mostly, like I said, the wave never happens, so a sensation overload doesn't happen. But mostly nightmares and stuff like that.
You get nightmares from them.
Well, back then, yeah. You're protected against the worst of the effects, but just being in shock space causes the brain to go into overdrive or something like that. That's what the company said. So we were all given sleeping pills that we had to take so that we could get to sleep, but it's not very well restful sleep.
I am sorry you had to endure such experience.
It happens. It's like I said, I prefer Rossi a lot more compared to that work.
Yes. When she was doing her I'm so that I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Like, it'll be a light touch to his arm if he allowed. Before she withdraws her hand again.
So you are...
It's like, the kind of comforting gesture. Like, I'm sorry you had to deal with this. And then, like, some people would be like shoulder touch or arm touch,
Okay, yeah.
Because I imagine Lorne is actually a fairly touchy person, especially with certain people on the crew that she knows she's totally fine with poking and prodding and shoulder touching.
Okay,
Also, the fact that, like, when she maneuvers through the halls, if there's people that she knows are totally fine with her poking them, like, you know, she does the
yeah. Okay.
hand on shoulder as she passes people. Like, she's a
Okay.
touchy lady.
Franklin just kind of smiles. It's all right, Lord. Thanks, though.
You're welcome. I hope that you are not suffering from nightmares now.
Oh, no, no. Despite it being a older model, it's designed to make the shock transition and when everyone goes to bed.
Hee-hoo, guess what? Hee-hoo. Hee-hoo. 4.
What are you looking for? Just in
Just his
general?
response, yep.
Okay. He does seem to appreciate that you are showing compassion. He doesn't seem he's not lying by any means, and it doesn't seem like he's hiding anything. It's just a general like, don't worry, I'm okay.
Was he...
I,
Oh, go ahead.
I have been okay for a while. Smile.
Mm-hmm. Was he uncomfortable by the contact?
No.
Okay.
Franklin has very much gotten used to Lorne being Lorne.
Hey, there we go. Thumbs up. She kind of settles on her little seat. Does more little swivels.
All right. And if you like, I think we can end that one there.
Yeah, I think that works.
Evolved to small talk.
Yeah, good small talk.
E.